Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here today to talk to you both, Elise, Tanya. Um, we're talking a bit about like nerves and what it is to prepare to show like these brands that you've been supporting and raising the profile of these past 5 years.
Yeah.
What is giving you like the confidence and drive to like bring the Black Card Company to the high street, to Brixton Market?
Well, as you say, it's actually been 5.5, going to be 6 years in December. So we've been on the sort of around for quite a while now. One thing which we haven't done is manage to get a really high profile. So everyone who knows about us or hears about us, they really like what we're doing and we get supported, but not that many people, relatively speaking, know about us. So part of going to Brixton, and especially next door to such a high profile shop, is to um, just be seen by more people who are our target market.
And also to be in a shop by ourselves, because we've been in other pop-up shops, but we've been part of another brand. So we're like the card seller in a shop that maybe sells clothes or other things. This will be the first time that we're in a shop completely by ourselves, so we can set it out how we want. We can have our products exclusively. We can invite people that align with us. It's the first time we're doing that.
You're giving me a taste of the vision for the pop-up shop, and I think we do need to go into what you'll be creating, but maybe we should go a bit back and I should ask you about your individual brands, how then you came together, and what we can expect when you're at Brixton Market. Tanya.
My individual brand is Color Shot, and I do cards and lifestyle products using African fabric, which is fabric is my passion. And so the whole of my business is really an extension of using fabrics. I like beautiful things, but I like them to be functional as well. So I like doing things where you can put the art onto the bag or the water bottle or the mug or whatever it is, yeah, or earrings or whatever. So as well, so yeah, that's what I do.
It sounds like your passion for fabrics and African design is infusing um, African lifestyle into like the everyday. So it's something to be enjoyed every day and just part of who you are.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It is um, something where you could take your culture, you can take your passion, you can take what you like, your love, the love for color, and you can put it onto everyday items. You can use them at the gym, in the office, at home. It's not a special occasion. It's for everyday use. Yeah, you got it perfectly. Thank you.
I love that function and utility is at the foundation of your brand to make sure that African designers goes everywhere. I love that vision. Elise, tell me about Cinnamon Brown and how you came to establish your brand.
Okay, so Cinnamon and Brown came about because of my love of art. I'm into interiors and I've always wanted black art in my home. And when I used to tell my peers, oh, I want my home to have black art, they had quite a negative response to that.
Why do you think that was?
I think because their exposure to art was not a good one. So maybe their experiences of going to art galleries or seeing art that portrayed them, it was very either negative or narrow. So it's either, tribal or subservient. So for me saying, oh, I want black art in my house, they were like, why would you want that? And because I have a contemporary home, this is where we are now, they just couldn't see how it would match having black art in the contemporary space. So Cinnamon and Brown started because I wanted contemporary black arts, and to be quite honest, I found it quite hard to find. I was looking at that time, this is years ago, I was looking in America, I was looking everywhere, and it was quite hard to find. So I literally had to learn how to draw and do some myself, and that's how Cinnamon and Brown started. So it started as an art brand. People liked it, but I still found that the audience that I wanted to engage with still weren't really into art. And I thought, how could I get them to engage? And I thought, well, if I change it to cards, then it's more accessible. And when I changed it to cards, that's when it changed. And more people were like, oh yeah, I really like it. So I thought, so you do like art, but you just don't like the format, or you're not used to the art format. But if it's given to you in a different format, you like it.
What you've spoken about is really, it's amazing what you've seen and how you started and how you've evolved to reach your audience or an audience, because whether your art is a print, it's really big, or whether it's a beautiful card that you're giving to somebody to celebrate an important milestone, all of these expressions are important. But you touched on something about how Black people at the time when you were looking for representations of Blackness in art, Black people seemed to didn't feel like they were connected to it, like that wasn't for them. And that's a real shame, but I also really admire that you were able to pivot and find a way to introduce the same art to the same people, and for them to have a positive reaction, because I'm sure that experience opened up conversations and allowed them to see that Black art is for them. It just came in a different format. And I think that gateway has probably led you to where you're going to have a physical store. It does make me sad.
I would say that I think things have changed.
Things
over
have changed.
over the last several years, actually, not probably about 10, 15 years. They've been changing slowly as you've had more and more modern artists or creatives come up and do and create, and you can see different representations, things that actually appeal. And I think that sort of old stereotypical type of art, which was not might not necessarily have been actually even produced by Black people, is slow. The idea that is Black art is slowly changing, or actually quickly changing. Really, I don't think so many people have that concept of that art being the only type of Black art that there is.
One thing that you mentioned, maybe I think before we were recording, is and actually in the conversation here, you mentioned that people's perceptions of Black art was quite narrow and linked more to like tribalism. But I actually also now I'm remembering how a lot of the art that my parents have bought in the UK and in Uganda is often of like animals and nature scenes, and sometimes it's of people, sometimes it's of women doing things, and I have opinions about that. That being the only depiction of women like being of service, but these sometimes narrow depictions of Black art are perhaps why you found a lot of resistance, because it's, where am I if you're just looking at animals? Like, why is that what people are drawn to when you think of like Africa or the Caribbean, like the tropics, like just palm trees? Like, where are the people? And then when we do see the people, in like the Ugandan context, there's so much art that's geared to tourists and Ugandan expats, of like women carrying baskets, children, a hoe, water, doing like literally 7 things at once. And it says like greetings from Uganda, and it subliminally tells you that this is what this is the people, this is what you should expect. And art is just an expression, so there's so many ways to show creativity and our inner lives in abstract and portraiture ways. So just wanted to add a bit of my own experience and how it can guide and put people off until they engage, which is what you did.
Yeah, until they saw themselves reflected or somebody that they knew
that they can relate
that
to,
they could relate to, like in the UK in the 2000s. Then it's like, oh yes, I can relate to it now. But if it's Ugandan art or Caribbean art, and it's 50 years ago, and I don't live that life, they just don't relate to it, and they want an IKEA type home. It's like, well, no, I'll buy IKEA art. I don't want that in my house, because it doesn't go.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I mean, I'm Sierra Leonean, and I actually grew up in Sierra Leone. I only came to England as a young adult for further studies, and it's because we had a lot of our arts. I sort of recognize some of what you're saying. A lot of our art was very was very sort of it was more traditional type arts, but it was and using different things, like standard types. You had carvings, you had depictions of like village life and that sort of thing, except that still occurred at the time. And also, I guess because I was a Sierra Leonean living in Sierra Leone, you saw that as an aspect of life. You didn't That was never my life. I remember a friend of mine having watched we watched in my church, we watched a picture of we watched a video of, there was of a village and this and that, and she was saying, "Oh, does that make any does that remind you?" And I said, "No, I was a town girl. I've never been in a village in my life." But the thing is, it wasn't the art was fine because it was just a part of Sierra Leonean life that I didn't personally have, but it was okay. In the context of in the UK, when you have the fusion of a Western and a black culture, then the sort of negative implications of only showing that type of art then come in. And what we're seeing now, and I think now is having that mix of people are have who live in the West but are still have a lot of roots in their or have roots in their culture and are more interested in showing their ethnic culture in their homes as opposed to Western culture only. So I think that fusion is definitely happening with our generation, and perhaps not so much with our parents, um, but more with us, our generation. As for the young ones, they just do their own. They're even further along that path, I think.
I was going to say something about how, because we're living in England and we have global heritages, we are a fusion, and art helps us, I think, to make a representation of who we are now, some kind of expression that fits. Because, like you said, there's nothing wrong with these village scenes. They exist. Villages are still there. Yeah. The traditional carvings and that history is there, and that's something that I draw on in my work here as I'm trying to make sense of my British Ugandan life. But there just needs to be like there's so much opportunity to express yourself because we're all having wildly different lives here, and this is what art helps us do, which perhaps could like bring us onto how you've come together to create the Black Card Company, representing I don't know how many brands up to now.
That was
50 brands,
Yeah.
50 artists, 50 creatives under one platform when you could have been continued, working separately. What made you decide to come together to create the Black Card Company?
So Tanya and I had met over the years when we were both doing craft markets. So we'd be at the same markets. Oh, how did you do? Blah, blah, blah. So we knew each other vaguely. And then in 2020, when COVID happened and everyone was in lockdown, and the incident with George Floyd happened, as you know, the world was really in turmoil and everyone was angry, and it was just a time where people were like,
something has to happen.
Yeah, we can't keep waiting for a seat at the table in all aspects of our lives. We can't, we've just got to do things for ourselves. And so a lot of us card creators were following each other on Instagram. And I said to I think it was Street Greets, I said, we should contact some other cards brands and we should do something together. But it was the proverbial we, meaning not me.
This is a great idea.
Yeah. So yeah. So we created a group in Instagram, and we were all talking like, a lot of the card vendors maybe only had 100 followers, or some were not very established, some were established and whatever. And we were saying, yes, we should do this. We should all like, rather than trying to do this separately, why don't we all have a platform and all the rest of it? But as I say, I didn't expect it to be me, although I said, yeah, we should do it. But it turned out to be me, and then Tanya came on board very soon after. And yeah, it started from there, but it literally started in lockdown.
Yeah, it was a really interesting time because everybody just felt it was a massive catalyst for so many people. And people just decided, you know what, this thing that I've been, and especially as I said, Elise, because for although the sort of manifestation of it started in that little Instagram group, but actually Elise had that idea years and years ago and had just obviously not had because lockdown was the one time that nobody was doing anything, everybody was getting paid, so they didn't have to worry about money. So we had time to think and do and get together. We started off with, it was cinnamon brown color shot and then street greets as well. We initially started together, and so yeah, oh, it was 2020 summer. That's when we started the company, and then we worked on the website for about 2 or 3 months, and then once we got it up and running, we then put it out on Instagram for about a week, inviting vendors to take part. So, and then when they did that, we gave them a month to set up the shops because it's on the same format as Etsy, where Etsy is a platform and everybody has their shop on the platform. and that's what Black Card Company is.
Mm.
So even though we're obviously the brand Black Card Company, we have all the vendors, they have their own brand as well.
Yeah.
So they had and then we opened in beginning of December, and it was whoosh, then it was really, it took off very, very well. There was so much positive reception. So we knew that we had, this was something that people wanted, and we're very interested in it.
And we started with 30 brands, didn't we?
Yes, that's right.
So from day one we had 30 brands, and then it's grown since then. So yeah.
I'm wondering, is there anything that perhaps surprised you about the demand and the types of cards and messages and art that was, and products? So it's not just cards. Is there anything that perhaps surprised you that you just didn't anticipate?
I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, everyone was happy that finally there was representation, because because a lot of people weren't aware that you could get black cards, because before that there was a brand called Black Gold, which had been going for years, but it was stock pictures, and they would use the same stock pictures year in, year out. So it used to be kind of a joke. Like one year I'd get the card and it would say cousin, and then the next year or 5 years time it will say auntie, and it's the same. It's the same card, and the fashion's changed and whatever. But it worked because there was nobody else. There was no other competition. So I think what people liked and still like about us is that it's generally not pictures, not stock pictures. It's original art. It's creativity. It's like Tanya does fabric art. Dion, she does mosaic art. So there's different types of creativity, but it all
all under one umbrella.
It's all under one umbrella. So, and it's, I guess what has been unusual is that a lot of the card brands didn't realise that there were so many other card brands doing it, because they thought they were the only one. They thought they'd just come up with this idea, let's do black cards, and it's like, no, there's like 50 of us doing this, but we're all doing something that's different
from each
other.
So
so there's more than enough room for everybody, because everyone's creativity is different.
It's interesting that quite a lot of our card sellers have the same origin story. I had kids, or I had someone's birthday, or this or that. I couldn't find a card to match, so I just started. I thought I'd start making my own cards, and that is a common thread that runs through. Through quite a lot of our vendors.
I'm just looking around at some of the art that you have here, Elise. It goes back to we're such, blackness, we are global, so there's so many different expressions. So it makes sense that in terms of the representation across the Black Card Company, there's so many different varieties. So I'm sure it's like a sweet shop to people. Like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I could get some art that's actually a photograph of a mosaic. Dion's a mosaic artist. So I could get a card to represent that. It's so accessible. It's so beautiful. Absolutely one of a kind. And then to be able to touch your cards. I mean, everyone touches cards, but to be able to have fabric, it's so important and gorgeous to have that tactility. Makes it really special because it puts your fingerprint on that.
One thing we do try to do, and most of our vendors try to do, is we try to be as responsive as we can. So, sometimes we have requests for types of cards that we don't have, and they can be very not necessarily that niche, but just nobody's done that. but it actually then motivates some people, depending on whether you can do it or not. But you usually will have someone in the group of of card sellers who will think, well, actually, that's a card that I could do. One of my favorite memories is a grandfather, a white grandfather, who was looking for a card for his mixed race twin
Twins.
granddaughters,
Yeah.
or one boy, one girl. I'm not quite sure which, but anyway, he was
Yeah.
looking for that and he couldn't, and so he emailed us and asked, and there was one person in the group who was able to, make that card for him. And we like we're it's nice that we can do that, have that sort of responsivity to our customers, really, to give them what they want, really.
Incredible that he was looking for a card that represented, I guess, himself and his twin granddaughters, and that somebody was able to respond to that and wanted to.
Yes.
That's so beautiful and heartfelt.
Yeah.
And we've done that a few times.
We've
actually
done that quite a few times,
Yeah.
where we just put out, because the other thing we have, which I think has helped, well, it definitely helps Elise and me in terms of maintaining Black Card Company as we over the past 5 years, is that when we started it, we decided to have a WhatsApp group, and so every vendor has access to the WhatsApp group, so where we can chat, and we keep it strictly business, so no happy birthdays or whatever like that.
No sending happy birthday messages.
Yeah, nothing like that. So, but
Enough of that in your day jobs.
It's strictly business, but it's friendly business. So so that's where we put out these requests. If somebody has, and also it's just evolved into something where if somebody has a query, they want to make gift wrap, for instance, but they're looking for places where can I get it made for me, then you'd have helpful, or you'd have someone, or somebody has an issue, so it's become a very collaborative. It makes us feel like a family, and I think that's helped definitely with the loyalty factor, where I think our sellers feel quite loyal to the brand. It's not just, a lot of our sellers are only on Black Card Company. It's not like, so for instance, Elise and I, we both have our own brands, and we both have Etsy shops and websites and all that, but some of our brands only are on Black Card Company, and that's it. Not all, but some.
Yeah. That speaks to the family that you've built and that support, because we don't want to feel alone. Yes. You've come together to alleviate that.
Yeah. And also that it just makes them know that even though they're all selling cards and they're all selling black cards, they're not in competition with each other, because everyone's cards are different and there's space for everyone. So that, so we act as a team, and we collaborate and we support each other.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a bit more about the pop-up shop, if that's okay, because you mentioned a bit about your vision for the space, but do you want to share a bit more about that? And when you talk about the Black Card Company being a family, a collaborative space, how will this translate into the shop, the Brixton pop-up shop, which will be the
it's the first shop on our own. So we got the opportunity from Caroline Chinakwe, who is another amazing artist. She's got a shop in Brixton. It's not been there that long. And she is renting out the shop, a tiny shop next to hers, to small businesses. So we thought, that would be really good for us. So we are going to go in there at the end of August, just for a week. Our vision for the shop, so when I first used to tell people about, black art and this and that, and they were very negative about it, my vision back then, this is 20 years ago, was to have a shop and to have art and gifts and stuff like that, all presented in a lifestyle sort of way. I described it back then as a lifestyle shop, but nobody knew what I was talking about. So fast forward now, I've come to understand that that type of shop is called a concept shop. And IKEA is an example of a concept shop where they're not only selling you the products, they're giving you the vision as well. So, although the unit that we're going to be in is quite small, what we would like to do is present our products in a lifestyle type way. With the constraints that we have, because we're only there for a week.
Creative constraints.
Yes. So yeah, that is our vision for the shop. We want it to look very aspirational. We want people to come in there and be like, wow, you know, like for example, I've got cards up there, including yours, that are framed, and some people don't realize, oh, you know, you can frame cards and you can make them look beautiful in a home. So we want to give people those ideas that, you know, you can do, this is all creativity and you can make it beautiful in your house. You can gift it to someone, you can gift it to yourself. That is our vision for the shop.
Yeah.
You want to create a space where people can feel at home, because this is something that runs through your work, and I imagine a lot of the other brands that the Black Card Company represents. Art in the home to like live with you and to be with you. And so when people walk in, they'll actually feel like, oh, I can sit down. I can imagine that on my wall. I can't wait to see this come together.
Well, you can help us. So you haven't explained who you are.
Who am I? My name's Birungi Kawooya. I am a full-time Birungi. I say that because I am like 5 or 6 years into burnout recovery, because before I realized I was burnt out again, I was a marketing manager and like just totally overcommitted to working, and it exhausted me, it burnt me out. And when I met you, I can't remember exactly when that was, but I reckon I would have been in between jobs, what I call my fun employment phase. I know when we met through the Hub and Culture pop-up shop in Peckham, which is now gone.
Yes.
I was looking for work, and I was working in the city, and I always had my art and my creativity. And when I had those spaces, when I was looking for work or recovering, art is what helped me to bring myself back together. Yeah. So I had to recreate my identity, which is why, yes, I am an artist. I'm a creative. I'm actually an artist researcher, because my central question is, how can I be well in community? Because just getting up and having that kind of 9-to-5 job, I wasn't able to work in that context. I seem to find myself in really white environments, and it made me like really like be so critical of myself and overwork. So I lost a lot of myself and my confidence, and I had to redesign who I was and actually get back to my true essence. So I've been holding spaces for creativity, my own and for others, because it's so wonderful to support people to connect to their creativity, which is why I loved you hearing from you talk about how you had to solve this problem of, what am I going to gift my child? What do I want to see and share with others? And yeah, I'm particularly interested in supporting Black women with their creativity. not just because making art feels good and is wonderful, but it's the process of imagination and bringing that to life. So you can have a creativity and imagination helps you live. And I think it's helped me to live quite bravely and outside of what my parents told me I should be doing. But it's okay, they support me now. And more importantly, I support me now.
Yeah, and so we met at one of you did a workshop on in Greenwich, and I went to one of your workshops and created some of your fabric arts.
Yes, of course, because I love fabric like you, love African design, and I was self-taught. I didn't go to art school, but through pictures, I would make collages, and then it gave me confidence to draw like freestyle. But I remember showing you how I made that dancing couple artwork, which you recreated. And obviously, I will always credit the late great Malik Sidibe, whose photograph of that couple, who are a brother and sister, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I saw around the Windrush celebration. I can't remember, it was a few
Recently,
years back.
okay.
Yeah, I think I saw the original somewhere in Brixton.
Photo. Yeah, it's such a gorgeous photo. I don't know why, but one of the favorite parts probably is that she's barefoot.
Yeah.
I think it's just cool, and she feels grounded, and
Yes.
I just like that aspect of it as well. It speaks to me. Dancing with family, it's just the best thing.
Yes.
So, where can we find you online? Where can we find the Black Card Company online?
Okay, so the Black Card Company, our online website is theblackcardcompany.com. We are also on Instagram and on TikTok, and I think on Threads as well.
Yeah.
Again, as the Black Card Company. So we're very easy to find. Usually, if you Google, we're somewhere in the top of the search, which is very nice too.
Yeah, if you Google black cards, we tend to come up like in the first 3. Yeah.
Because you're giving people what they want.
We also try as much as possible to be out and about, usually in London, since we're both close to London. But yeah, obviously we're doing that at the shop, but we're not. But that doesn't happen that often. Occasionally.
So where else could we find you in real life? What kinds of markets do you regularly sell at, or your or other brands at the Black Card Company sell at? Where can we find you?
So I mean, we do pop-ups every now and again, so they're not regular at the moment anyway. We used to be in a few pop-up shops that were semi-long term, but they're not about at the moment. So we do day pop-ups every now and again. Our vendors, they also do pop-ups. They tend to advertise it on their specific platforms. But most of our vendors are in London. We have some also in Luton, some in Manchester, and maybe some other areas. But we tend to be in the London area if you are going to find us in a physical space.
Something I was reflecting on as you were talking was that I think since 2020, I've noticed more of the major high street stationers and supermarkets diversify their card range. So the Buy Black movement certainly got the interest of the big retailers, whether they are buying directly from some brands. And I know some brands did get in, but I also wonder if they just commissioned their designers to make a more diverse representation of cards. So definitely both. But I'm a pessimist sometimes. And I think there's just some designers that get to make art for everybody. Like, that's interesting.
And something that's slightly problematic to me anyway is that there's now a diversity category in the card industry. Like, I can't remember what it's called, but they've got a category for diverse cards, which, you know, great. I think it started in 2020, so a lot of things started in 2020. So a couple of black designers got into the big platforms, maybe 2 or 3 got in. 6 years later, no more have got in, but okay.
I could fill that quota.
Yeah, that quota was filled in 2020 and it was never increased. But they the industry created this diversity category for cards. So again, we thought, oh, that's really great. However, diversity in that category means Black, LGBTQ.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so it's an umbrella.
So it's so broad that
what does it actually mean?
It basically means anyone that's
not
white or cis. So it's so broad that it's like, oh, so even for a black card to win, it's going to be quite hard. And the ones that have won have been designed. You can tell straight away that they've been designed by someone that is not black, because I won't make it specific because the person would know, but a card that won was, I found, actually quite offensive, but they won as a diverse card, and it's like a black person would never buy that card, because it was actually a bit offensive. But to somebody who doesn't know anything about diversity, they'll be like, oh, this is perfect, and actually you've won. But they've not included the diverse.
We've got to rewrite the rules.
Yeah.
Well, I think from that lens, I think it's really important actually for people to do their best and buy directly from Black artists, creatives. And this is what you're supporting people to do through the platform, not having to like go to this brand for this thing, this brand, like it just, the cognitive load might be a bit much. But having a platform like the Black Card Company is really helpful. It's giving people what they need.
Yeah, I think that authenticity is really important, and only people from the same community know what's authentic. Oh, and also we're quite aware that we use cards in a way that other communities don't use cards. So sometimes when other communities see our cards, they get offended. They're like, well, why do you want Black people all over your cards? But we are using cards just as a medium for representation, whereas other communities don't need to use cards in that way, so they're happy to have cats or flowers or teddy bears.
If you're being represented,
if you're represented everywhere, it's not important at all. Because your identity is everywhere. But for us, because our identity is not everywhere, and the places that it is available sometimes is not conducive to us, and so cards are just an affordable and an accessible way to present representation to each other. And another thing they don't get is, oh well, it's only a card. It's only a card to you, but for us, because we don't get much representation,
this is one way.
It's important to us. So please don't misrepresent us.
Okay. So I think what's been really fascinating about talking to you is because the volume of sales that you have across the company can tell you a lot about like buyer demand and what they're looking for. The fastest growing demographics in the UK are probably mixed heritage, like families, from all kinds of like different ethnicities and backgrounds. How is the Black Card Company responding to Britain?
Yeah, I mean that's quite interesting because what it is, although it's from a fairly small base, but interracial, biracial, and mixed race families and couples and whatever are definitely the fastest growing. And you see that especially in things like like we talked about the grandfather with his twin, the white grandfather with his twin mixed race grandchildren. But also we found that in weddings as well. A lot of us across in on the Black Card Company find that our cards which show, a white man and a black woman, or vice versa, a black man and a white woman, are actually the fastest grow the biggest sellers in our wedding ranges, than even more than black on black, weddings. So yeah, that's quite interesting, because usually the response you get is, I can never find a card for my wife, husband, that sort of thing. And usually once they buy, they can buy from you over and over again, because they now they can be happy that they're getting seen, basically. Yeah.
Also for Valentine cards, like our interracial Valentine cards are really, really
Very
popular.
popular.
Yeah, because it's a real bonus point if you're dating someone from another race and you can give them a Valentine card that represents
Yeah.
both of you. You're going to get a lot of brownie points for that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because Black creatives, like, this is the lens that we've had to think through living in Britain, living in London. So it's actually meeting the demand. It's actually not about, thinking about race all the time. It's actually just responding to
What's out there?
what's happening in the creatives' families and what is happening in the UK. Didn't mean for this to get political, but that's what life is. That's what our identities have become.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing like the different types of art and representation. I know that I'll be bringing some of my work that speaks to Black women resting. The Sisters Need Sleep. I think I'd like to share that. That's not something I would have shown when I was in Hub and Culture back in the day. And yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what kind of different themes might people not think, oh, this is represented here? What can you give us a little taste of what's to come?
We're going to have a slight nod to the Windrush generation, because we're in Brixton. Brixton is where a lot of that generation settled originally. So we're going to do a little feature around them. There'll also be textile art, so things like Tanya and yourself does. We're also bringing back some fine arts. So one of the, or two actually, two of the really good fine artists in the UK. So Alvin Kofi and Ken McKellar, they're going to be bringing some fine art prints and cards to the shop.
Yeah.
And a lot of Black people have actually never seen themselves represented in fine art. So that's quite special. And yeah, we do lifestyle products. There's some handmade cards as well, which are always really popular. So it'll be a bit of everything, but as I say, it will be in an well, we're going to try our best to do it in an aspirational type setting. So it's not going to be like a normal, it won't look like Card Factory or anything like that.
It's not going to be crammed with products. But
It's not going to look like that.
The products will be there, but they'll be helping to tell the story as opposed to be just, there to be bought. At least that's what we're hoping for.
The space is small, so we are limited, but we still want to make it an experience and a destination.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds wonderful. I can't wait for this to come and for the Black Card Company to continue flourishing and representing Black lives in the UK. Thank you. Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. This is a pleasure.